Well, this isn't good. It's November 19th, 2004. We're at the Palace of Auburn Hills in Michigan. The visiting Indiana Pacers are winding down a blowout victory over their rival Detroit Pistons. Garbage time got a little testy and a fight broke out. It was a pretty normal basketball fight, just some basketball players shoving each other. But in its aftermath, someone in the crowd just chucked their drink at Indiana's Ron Artest. This is going to become something else entirely. You probably know what's about to happen and what that will do to the NBA, its relationship to its players and to society. But what about what came before? Another way to understand the gravity of this moment is to know how these people got here, to understand what they've built before a grim turn of events tears it all down. This moment is about to detonate. Let's look back on what it will destroy. First, we should talk about what just happened. There was a fight, a regular old basketball fight. With under a minute to go, the Pistons were down double digits, but still had a few starters on the floor, including all-star center Ben Wallace. And Indiana coach Rick Carlisle was managing multiple injured players, so he hadn't totally emptied his bench either. Ron Artest, Indiana's chief agitator, had been bothering Wallace and the rest of the Pistons all night, and he was still on the floor. And when Artest put a somewhat hard foul on Big Ben with the game already decided, Wallace lashed out. This had the potential to be a big deal. Wallace was really mad, and Artest can be unpredictable. And the refs, Ron Garretson, Tommy Nunez, and Tim Donaghy, didn't do a great job controlling the situation. Thankfully, Artest and Wallace's teammates seemed to have settled things down. That includes Detroit's Rasheed Wallace, who's had some famous battles with these referees, but did them a huge favor this time around by breaking up what could have escalated into a brawl. While Ben Wallace is over here fuming, Artest has taken up residence on the scorer's table. Artest is prone to erratic behavior, famous for fighting opponents and smashing a TV camera, but also for odd and kind of charming stuff like applying for a job at Circuit City so he could get an employee discount, or getting benched a couple games this season because he asked for time off to promote his rap album. The point is, Artest choosing this moment to recline on the scorer's table is weird, but not out of character, and probably better than him staying in the middle of things while tempers are high. Up to this moment, he's done no more than deliver a hard foul. The only person who needs to worry about a suspension or any serious punishment at all is Ben Wallace. So immediately, that's how we got here, a moment away from a drink hitting Artest. But a hard foul and a shove and a nap on the scorer's table don't fully explain this animosity. Let's rewind further. After Michael Jordan's retirement from the Bulls in 1998, the Western Conference took over the NBA. For 5 years, either the Spurs or Lakers made it to the NBA Finals and crushed their opponent. In 2000, the Pacers, coached by Larry Bird and led by Reggie Miller and Jalen Rose, had the honor of being the victim, falling to Phil, Kobe, and Shaq in the first chapter of the Lakers' championship three-peat. But after that, neither the Pacers nor the Pistons could even make it to the finals. And after both teams faltered in the 2003 playoffs, both made changes. The Pistons got swept out of the Eastern Conference Finals by the Nets, so they fired head coach Rick Carlisle. Indiana got upset by the Celtics in the first round, so they fired head coach Isaiah Thomas. While Detroit replaced Carlisle with Hall of Famer and one-time Pacers coach Larry Brown, the Pacers replaced Thomas with Rick Carlisle. In his first season with the Pistons, Brown picked up where Carlisle left off, squeezing a few more wins out of a gritty, well-built squad centered around reigning Defensive Player of the Year Ben Wallace. And Detroit bolstered the roster Carlisle left behind by trading for another excellent Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, at the 2004 trade deadline. Quick shout out, by the way, to Sheed's one-day Atlanta Hawks career. At the same time, Carlisle took the Pacers to a whole other level. Miller was well past his heyday as the Pacers star, but signed one last 2-year contract in hopes of snagging a ring before retirement, and that hope was justified. As Miller's role diminished, big man Jermaine O'Neal blossomed from solid all-star into bona fide MVP candidate. And their 24-year-old stopper, Artest, not only surpassed Ben Wallace to win 2004 Defensive Player of the Year, but took a leap in scoring and made his first All-Star team. Carlisle coached Indiana to 61 wins, most in the NBA. He commanded a defensive powerhouse, a genuine candidate to snatch the championship back from the Western Conference, whether the Pacers faced Kevin Garnett and the first-place Wolves, Tim Duncan and the Spurs, or a Lakers team that was by this point bloated with a comical amount of all-star talent. But first, the Pacers had to handle Detroit. After upsetting the reigning Eastern Conference champion Nets in a truly wild semifinal series, the Pistons met their old coach and his top-seeded Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. It was a hard-fought, defensive series that turned on a couple huge moments. The 38-year-old Miller came through with a heroic three to secure Game 1 for the home team. And his layup in the closing seconds of Game 2 could have forced overtime and set up a 2-0 series margin, but young Piston Tayshaun Prince, a breakout contributor under Brown, swooped out of nowhere for one of the greatest blocks in playoff history.
That is one of the most amazing blocks that I have ever seen.
That block helped Detroit steal Game 2, and they won Game 3 at home, then dominated Game 5 in Indiana to take a 3-2 lead in the series. Back in Detroit for Game 6, with their backs against the wall, the Pacers snapped. Indiana lost a big early lead, then Artest lost his cool, invigorating the Pistons by smacking their best scorer, Rip Hamilton, right in his protective face mask. O'Neal and Miller went cold, Artest blew a couple chances down the stretch, and the winningest team in the NBA went down in 6. The Pacers had to sit and watch as Detroit shocked the world by upsetting the star-studded Lakers in the NBA Finals. Indiana felt like that was supposed to be their championship, so they came out fired up for the 04-05 season, hell-bent on getting Reggie a ring in his farewell year. Tonight marks the Pacers' 7th win in their first 9 games. Miller's missed the beginning of the season with a broken hand, but O'Neal has had a couple huge nights already. And Artest isn't just playing like an all-star and elite defender, he's started the year playing like an MVP. Scoring efficiently, distributing, really performing at a superstar level through these first couple weeks. Tonight was a statement game, a chance to get on national TV and send a message to the defending champs that this year wouldn't be like last year. And message sent, I would say. And of course, Detroit sent a message right back showing they hadn't forgotten Artest's antics in Game 6 last season. The rivalry is strong, but the Pacers clearly have the upper hand. 2004's best regular season team is looking even stronger headed into 2005, and looking around, you can see it's not just internal improvement. This is Stephen Jackson, a huge addition Indiana made this summer. It wasn't the huge addition of the summer, not in an offseason in which Shaq got traded and Steve Nash became his son, but this was an underrated pickup. Al Harrington had been the 6th man for the 04 Pacers, but he was tired of coming off the bench and demanded either a starting spot or a trade. Indiana gave him the latter. After failing to acquire Tracy McGrady, the Pacers sent Harrington to the Hawks and got Jackson in return. Jackson had come quite a long way to reach this point. He didn't make the NBA right away as a 1997 second-round draft pick out of high school, bouncing around the world until the Nets picked him up in 2000. Jackson became a Spur and won a championship, then emerged as a genuine star in Atlanta. The Pacers grabbed this guy at the perfect time. This season, he stepped in for the injured and aging Miller, providing an excellent third scoring option on a team that wasn't lacking for firepower. The rich have gotten richer, and the Pacers are a real championship contender once more. But not if this moment turns. Artest has been instigated by someone in the crowd, and if he or any of his teammates retaliate, the consequences could be huge. The 4th longest suspension in NBA history up to this point came when Vernon Maxwell entered the stands to punch a heckler in 1995. And Artest is already on the league's bad side, with multiple suspensions for fighting to his name. If Artest engages, the punishment will be severe. If his teammates join him, it could wreck the whole season. And man, would that hurt. The Pacers have built something formidable here. Their legendary star is on his way out, but there's real reason to believe they can bid him farewell with a title. A dominant team has only improved, and they've passed an early test against the team that stifled their run to win last year's championship. But an unusual garbage time got tense, and this single projectile has the potential to turn an ordinary NBA fight into something way scarier with way more at stake. The upward arc of the Indiana Pacers is about to take a dreadful fall. Welcome to a moment in history.
I'm not sure. He'd have to walk past the Pacer bench to go. Now Artest has jumped over the scorer's table and is trying to get down to the bench. Artest is in the stands. Oh, this is awful. Fans are getting involved. Stephen Jackson's in the fans.